The date was supposed to mark a turning point in the Middle East, a coordinated blow, decades in the making, designed to finally sever the head of the Iranian regime. But when the dust settled, the unthinkable had happened. The target, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, was gone. But the regime did not fall. Instead, a chain reaction was triggered, one that didn't destabilize Tehran, but sent a political earthquake rippling back across the Atlantic and deep into the heart of Tel Aviv. The two architects of this operation, American President Donald Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, are now facing a threat they never anticipated. Not from Iranian missiles, but from their own capitals. The hunters have become the hunted. So, what exactly went wrong? And how did the plot to change the Iranian regime backfire so catastrophically that it now threatens to consume the political lives of the men who started it? To understand the scale of this paradox, we have to rewind. For years, the United States and Israel have viewed Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps and its network of proxies as the primary threat to stability in the region. The strategy was clear: apply maximum pressure, cripple the economy, and foment internal dissent to spark a regime change. The elimination of Khamenei was meant to be the silver bullet, the moment that threw the Islamic Republic into chaos, allowing a more Western-friendly government to emerge from the ashes. But regime change is a volatile weapon. And when it backfires, it creates a blast wave that doesn't discriminate between friend and foe. The first casualty of this miscalculation wasn't in Tehran. It was in Washington, D.C. For Donald Trump, a president who has always projected an image of invincibility, the political ground has begun to crumble beneath his feet. Within his own Republican Party and across the American media landscape, a rebellion is brewing. The questions being asked are brutal and direct. Why did we get dragged into this? Who really benefits from a war with Iran? The sword of Damocles hanging over Trump's head is no longer just a metaphor. With every $1 billion spent on a conflict that polls show Americans don't want, with every strain put on alliances with Gulf nations who fear regional conflagration, Trump's political capital is being depleted. He faces the very real prospect of impeachment, not just for the war itself, but for a constellation of scandals that have resurfaced with a vengeance. The ghost of the Epstein file, the growing perception of a presidency adrift. We are witnessing a historic inversion of power. There was a time when a phone call from the White House was met with immediate deference. Today, we see a desperate scramble. It has been reported that the Trump administration reached out not to one or two, but to 5 major global powers, pleading for support. The list reads like a who's who of the world's strongest economies: China, France, Britain, Japan, and South Korea. And one by one, the answers came back. China's refusal was swift and categorical. France, a NATO ally, publicly stated they would not be sending weapons. Britain, America's so-called special relationship partner, has hedged its statements with such ambiguity that it amounts to a diplomatic no. Japan and South Korea, both hosting significant U.S. military installations, are maintaining a silence that speaks louder than words. They are calculating the risk of tying their futures to a faltering campaign. The leader of the free world is now a leader asking for help and being told, politely but firmly, that he is on his own. But if the situation in Washington is dire, the situation in Israel has descended into outright mystery. Benjamin Netanyahu, the Mr. Security of Israeli politics, the man who stood defiantly on a destroyed building just last year, has vanished from the public eye. And in the vacuum of his absence, a storm of speculation has erupted. The official story is thin, the silence is deafening. Around the world, geopolitical analysts and internet sleuths alike are asking the same question: where is Netanyahu? Is he injured? Is he in hiding? The theories range from the plausible to the sinister. Some reports, which have gone viral despite official denial, suggest that Netanyahu's own residence was struck. If true, it would explain everything: the lack of public appearances, the refusal to release real-time video proof of life. The few clips that have surfaced are immediately dismissed by skeptics as deepfakes, generated by artificial intelligence, to project an image of control that doesn't exist. This is the new frontier of warfare. Not just the battle for territory, but the battle for reality itself. In this fog of war, one thing is clear. The head of the Iranian regime was taken out, but the man who ordered the strike may have just become the Iranian Revolutionary Guard's #1 target. They have issued a chilling promise: they will find him. And in a region where missile technology is now reaching unprecedented levels of accuracy, that is not an idle threat. While the leaders of the free world and the Middle East's strongest military power are locked in a struggle for political survival, a new and terrifying phase of the conflict is unfolding. The narrative is shifting from state-on-state warfare to a murkier, more dangerous shadow war. Enter Ali Larijani, a senior Iranian advisor. His recent warning sent chills through intelligence agencies. He claims to have received intelligence that remnants of the Epstein network, a shadowy cabal of global elites with deep ties to intelligence agencies, are planning a catastrophic event, an event designed to mimic the scale and horror of 9/11. And their plan, according to Larijani, is to pin the blame squarely on Iran. A false flag operation of unimaginable proportions, designed to galvanize the American public and justify an all-out war. This is the ultimate escalation. If true, it moves the conflict from the geopolitical chessboard into the realm of terrorism. Iran, for its part, is loudly protesting its innocence, stating its war is with the American military-industrial complex, not the American people. They claim that their retaliatory strikes have been confined to military and financial targets, a claim that is increasingly difficult to verify in the fog of information warfare. Even America's traditional allies in the Gulf are starting to question the narrative. In a stunning break from protocol, Prince Turki al-Faisal, the former head of Saudi intelligence, was asked a simple question. Who is the real threat to regional stability, Iran or Israel? His answer was unambiguous. The real threat right now, he stated, is Israel, which has gained excessive power and is threatening the entire region. When a Saudi prince points to Israel, not Iran, as the source of instability, you know the tectonic plates of the Middle East have shifted. And what of the American media, the so-called Fourth Estate, that is supposed to hold power to account? It is now under direct assault. In a move that echoes tactics seen in less stable nations, the administration is threatening to revoke the licenses of media outlets that publish critical reporting. Journalists are being pressured, accused of spreading Iranian propaganda simply for reporting facts on the ground that contradict the White House's narrative of a victorious campaign. The most prominent target is Tucker Carlson, the influential commentator who, before the war, advised Trump against this path. Carlson, who reportedly had contacts with Iranian figures in an attempt to understand their perspective, now claims the government is spying on him, reading his private messages, and preparing a criminal referral to the CIA to have him silenced. He draws parallels to Julian Assange and Edward Snowden, whistleblowers and journalists who were hounded by the state for exposing uncomfortable truths. This is the sign of a desperate administration, one that sees its control over the story slipping away. And, at the center of it all, making decisions that could plunge the world into a wider conflict, is a president whose public statements are becoming increasingly erratic. In a recent interview, when discussing the devastating bombardment of Iran's Karg Island, a critical oil terminal, Trump casually remarked that they might attack it again, and he used a chilling phrase to describe why. He said, "Just for fun. Just for fun." This is the same man who once mused about the enjoyment of watching enemy ships sink with their crews, to describe the destruction of infrastructure, which inevitably leads to loss of life and economic devastation for millions, as fun reveals a mindset that allies and adversaries alike find deeply alarming. This brings us to the future, into a series of possible scenarios, each more destabilizing than the last. Scenario 1, the situation continues to fester. Trump and Netanyahu cling to power, their authority weakened, while Iran uses its newly demonstrated missile capabilities, including the first combat use of the long-range, highly accurate Sejil missile, to project power. The conflict becomes a grinding, low-intensity war of attrition, draining the U.S. Treasury and further isolating Israel. Scenario 2, the pressure on Trump becomes too great. Facing impeachment and political oblivion, he makes a rash decision to dramatically escalate the war in a desperate bid to rally the nation around the flag. This could involve strikes on Iranian nuclear facilities, drawing in China and Russia, and triggering a full-scale global energy crisis. Scenario 3, the false flag warning proves accurate. A devastating attack on American soil or a major Gulf city is blamed on Iran. The American public, enraged and terrified, demands massive retaliation. The U.S. finds itself in a ground war in the Middle East once again, this time against a more capable and determined adversary, while the true perpetrators of the attack remain hidden in the shadows. The operation to change the Iranian regime was a gamble of epic proportions. It was a bet that a single strike could decapitate a government and bring the entire structure down. But instead of a clean kill, the architects of this plan have unleashed a torrent of chaos that is now flooding back into their own homes. The revolution they hoped to export to Tehran has instead arrived in Washington and Tel Aviv. The final chapter of this story is far from written, but one thing is certain. In the game of geopolitical brinksmanship, when you try to reshape the world with violence, you rarely get to control what you create. This is Daily Report. Please let us know in the comments whether you found today's video informative or not. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to smash the bell icon so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. Take good care of yourselves, and thank you for watching.